Kate, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lupe. Is it Lupe or Lupe?
Lupe. Lupe.
Lupe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my partner at the Most Powerful Woman in the Room is You Summit. We sat next to each other and we met.
It was so much fun. I loved that day. It was so inspiring. I left so energized. Lydia is just so great. And it was really nice to get to meet all the women there because I knew she would attract just powerful, amazing, genuine women. And that's exactly who was there.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, when we first walked in, it looked very formally set up, rows and rows of chairs for 200 people. And then as soon as she got us started, all the chairs were moved into circles and people's stuff was all over the place and everybody was walking around talking to everybody. So that's great.
Yes. I'd like to start every interview, Kate, by asking guests, as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew what I loved to do.
Ooh.
I wasn't like a one of those kids like when I grow up I want to be this, but it was very clear what my interests were from a very young age, which was dressing up. We had a big like an actual wooden chest filled with my great aunt's old fur coats, Ferragamo shoes, real like cast off, but like really good cast offs. And then,
It sounds like
this was
it.
before costumes were like something that you could go buy at Spirit Halloween. My mom was incredibly creative and used to make all of our Halloween costumes
Mm.
and also was a great dresser. We would go to rummage sales and you could fill up a paper bag for $1 with clothes. And we just had this amazing dress up box. And also, I remember other friends of mine having similar dress up box. Like my next door
Oh, that's
neighbor
so
had
cute.
one. My best friend had one who had also a very stylish mother. And it wasn't so much the clothes themselves were stylish, but it was this idea that you'd be recreating your look like every afternoon, probably from the age of, 7 till 12. I would come home, go over to my neighbor's house. We would play dress ups. And it was just like put stuff on. We weren't even trying to be a specific thing. It was just the act of putting clothes on and I guess being creative with that and that's transformation in itself. And then from that age, I was obsessed with clothes, but sort of approaching it from more of like an outsider's perspective. I'm the youngest of four kids, so I had the fortune of hand-me-downs, which sometimes were like, I'm not so
I-
crazy about this. And then other times it was like when my sisters left to go to college, I raided their closets, like whatever they left behind, or if they came home from school, they let me borrow a pair of shoes or a sweater or something that was really special. And I grew up, it was sort of a thing at the time. Like all my friends in high school, we loved to go to thrift stores or consignment shops. This was before eBay. This was before anything digital online. So you either had to go to a yard sale, an estate sale, a church sale, or a thrift store. And all of those were great because your dollar went so far. And I think it took away the preciousness of dressing with designer labels where you might be afraid to like wear something because it would get dirty or whatever. It was like just put it on. It was like always I would look at magazines and then sort of try to recreate looks. And my mom called me fashion passion. And so every morning before I left the house to go to school, she'd be like, show me what you're wearing. No dress code at school or anything like that. I just loved clothes and I loved experimenting and I loved the feeling of finding a treasure. So that was one thing I really loved to do as a child. And then that's a thread that has continued in my whole life.
Hmm.
The other thing I loved to do was to draw, paint, make collages. I would cut up stacks of magazines and cut out the words, cut out certain pictures, and then glue them back onto old, either larger poster boards or like, I don't know if they still have them. My dad used to have his shirts dry clean and they would come back folded with like a white cardboard
Yep.
insert, in
Yep.
a rectangle. And ever resourceful, my dad would save these and be like, here, you can use these for your art projects. So I was always just in a pile of shredded paper or crayons, papers, glue, tape, pasting things up on my walls, advertisements, things like that. I love the Guess ads when I was little. I loved the Clinique ads. These things really spoke to me, like they were revolutionary and just got me so excited. So I was artistic always, but my mom always like had a crayon in my hand or a paintbrush in my hand from when I was really little. Like if it was a long car ride or sometimes when we would be on the train or occasionally flying somewhere, she would always pack craft projects for me to do. For me, it's second nature. It's like my handwriting is art. It just comes out of my hands.
Mm.
So it's no surprise that I've made a career out of sort of combining these two things of like personal style and art and creative direction and brand consulting.
I love that. I'm just envisioning how beautiful that must have been. And I'm thinking, oh, how can I do that for my daughter? And she's very creative. And how can I do more of what your parents did and encouraging her to create and
Yeah,
craft and play and all the things. So, from what
I
I
think about
read,
that a lot as well because my oldest daughter is 12. And also, as a creative person, I think about this a lot. And it's like, you want to be the person who is creating the channel outward versus consuming
mm,
and it's coming inward.
mm,
There is so much to consume these days
yes,
for people of all ages. So I think a lot about this. It's like, how much do you let yourself be influenced and educated on what's going on in the world? And then how much do you protect your space and put up healthy boundaries? And this is something that I come back to a lot. And sometimes I'm successful with it, and sometimes it's the thing, and it's a work in progress. And I think I'm very aware of this with children and this interface with screens. And I don't know if you've read the book, The Anxious Generation, but it's like we're underprotecting our kids online and we're overprotecting them in the real world.
yes, yes.
And like
Hmm.
I took my kids hiking this weekend and they're like climbing way off the trail and my husband's like freaking out like they're getting too close to the edge. And I'm like, we have to underprotect them in the real world. They're allowed to fall down from the tree. But I think this kind of thing, this kind of confidence, this kind of risk taking, this type of ability to create without being afraid is so huge. And if you can implant that
Hmm.
in yourself or your friends or your children, it's more than a skill, actually. It's like a muscle, it's like muscle memory
Hmm.
coming back to it because it's like a primary thing. You don't really get a second chance at it. And you can constantly strengthen that muscle of what you're putting out there
Hmm.
versus what you're consuming.
Hmm. I love that. Kate and I met at the, like we talked about here in the beginning, at the Most Powerful Woman in the Room is You Summit by Lydia Finette. Right before that, I was at a World Business Forum, also in New York. And the ex-head of innovation for Disney was
Oh,
speaking.
wow.
And he has a book, I think it's called The Imagination Emporium. He talked about how it's a muscle, creativity is a muscle. The more
Yes.
you use it, the stronger it gets. And I used to think I wasn't a creative person. And I'm like, oh, I feel like now in my capacity as coach, there's a lot of creativity in that, even though it's not the traditional creativity of creating something. But I think about, oh, I would like to pursue more creative pursuits. And it's not too late.
Yeah, and
It's
creativity can come from like it's anytime you step in and steer the direction of what you're doing.
hmm,
So it's the difference between cooking dinner and making a recipe that you choose versus
mm,
what's being served to you. Now, don't get me wrong, it can be so nice to go to a friend's house and eat what they serve you, but think of that more as a metaphor. It's like anytime that you have the idea and follow through with the idea, that's creativity.
oh, I love that.
You deciding to be an executive coach and then becoming an executive coach, you are creating your own identity and profession.
Oh, I've never heard it that way. I love that metaphor.
Yeah, so it's like you're the active role, you're the verb in the sentence.
Oh, I love that, Kate. I didn't know I was coming to church.
I know I'm gonna have to come back to my own sound bites.
No, I love that. I think I read somewhere, and I think about this often, of when we are passively consuming social media, it can become draining. And that the way to kind of switch that is to start interacting with your friends or interacting with some of the creators so that there's at least a connection piece where it's not just passive all the way. And then if we catch ourselves
You
being
mean
really
like
passive,
DMing people or
yeah,
you
like
mean
if there's some,
in acting in real life?
a way to make it less draining is to like actually connect with people because a lot of people just passively consume instead of
Right.
using it as a form of connection. So I love your work, commenting about what I love about your work.
Right, 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 right. We're creating that personal connection.
Yes, or instead of just passively consuming others' content is like maybe I'll create a video or a reel that I post on mine versus just
Right. And
putting
also,
them
like to go back to your book where creativity is the muscle, it's the action, it's the verb,
Mm.
it's the initiation, it's the intention. The format or the medium is almost irrelevant. And that's why sometimes people find it much easier to sit on the couch and passively
just
consume things.
yes,
We all have those
we all
moments
do
when
it.
we're tired. But I think using that muscle, that creative muscle, is like from any age, if you can engage and be the initiator. Our friend Lydia always says action leads to action.
Hmm.
I like to take that one step further. Anything leads to anything. Cooking leads to cooking, painting,
Mm.
painting, coaching leads to coaching. Like anything that you're actually doing is planting that seed of intention for whatever creative manifestation you're seeking.
Before we hit record, Kate said this is only her second podcast, and I'm thinking, oh my God, Kate, you should be on a lot of podcasts. People need to hear what you're saying. Just
You can call me, whoever's listening. Call
call
me. I'll
Kate.
join your podcast.
So tell us, okay, so you were interested in fashion as a little girl. You liked creating, being creative. Tell us about the path to today. In reading your background, it sounds like it wasn't like a straight path to
No.
being an artist now and what you do today. Do you mind walking us through?
Yes, I will. And I also, I'm the author of a book called Classic
Which
Style.
I'm gonna buy. That sounds like the kind of book I would love.
Yeah, and my camera's a little wonky, but this is sort of a personal autobiographical journey that I illustrated and wrote. And
And tell us the name again for those who are
classic
listening.
style. And then the tagline is hand it down, dress it up, and wear it out. It's about how you can define, simplify, and reinvent your style. It sort of tells a tale of how I basically created a career based on my passion and talent
Hmm.
and ambition, my ambitious drive. But it also helps readers sort of define their own personal style and sort of like forget what's cool and really sink into what you love and what is authentic to you. But to answer your question for the podcast, I'm the youngest of four kids, growing up in a pretty creative household. My mom is super creative, makes everything from scratch. She's an interior designer and she's an art historian who led tours to Europe, mostly France and Italy,
Cool.
on with art history. And my dad was trained as an architect, but ended up becoming a city planner.
Hmm.
So I'm raised in a school that values art. I win an art prize in 10th grade for a watercolor painting that I did that my
Oh my God.
teacher put into some sort of scholastic art competition. I didn't even know she had submitted it, but when I won, she told me. I still have that painting. And then I took studio art classes my senior year and I ended up winning the art prize for my high school. I went on to the Rhode Island School of Design and which was just the perfect place for me. I was able to really like lock in on a serious love of design
Hmm.
and art and just being able to make things with my hands. So I was able to really lock in there and hard work and focus and taking things to the next level and the next level and the next level was really celebrated there. It sort of celebrates the workaholic part of my personality. I studied graphic design and photography. I studied a year in Rome and was able to do an internship in Paris during that year at a magazine
Hmm.
and met a ton of amazing people in the fashion world that way. I also interned at W Magazine my sophomore year. Any chance I had, I was like, get my foot in the door
Hmm.
and letters out. Like, I didn't even know it at the time. It just felt very normal to me, but I was just like a direct arrow to everything that I wanted. I had a lot of confidence. And in a way, it's like I didn't know enough about the industry to be scared to reach out. I
Hmm.
just knew that I felt like I had this deep connection and like deep love of the fashion industry, fashion photography, and magazines. That once a month, when your magazine would arrive, like your Vogue or your W, was like the holy grail moment. Like, don't talk to me. I'll be in my room reading my magazines and like analyzing every photo shoot, learning the name of every photographer.
Let me pause you there, Kate.
Yes.
How do you think you developed that confidence to like, because I think maybe a lot of people in college might be afraid to reach out or maybe think doubt themselves and not even put themselves out there. That seems like a very like
Well, it's
special thing.
interesting. What's interesting because when you ask me the question, you say, how did you develop that confidence? When I'm thinking about it and telling you the story, I'm not thinking about confidence. I'm thinking about interest. I'm thinking about
Mm,
something that I was so obsessed with that
mm,
I was just like, it was like getting water. It was like, oh my God, have to
mm,
have this, have to be there, have to know this
mm,
person.
mm,
So again, it was sort of like, and there was many times in my life where I felt like this is my shot. I would get connected to someone or I would meet someone and they'd be like, oh, I know this person, or like I'm working on this project. And I would say, like, can I be your intern? Or,
mm,
it just felt like just a lot of drama, of excitement. This is a big break. It just kept happening over and over and over in my life. Like I would see an opportunity and run right towards it. And yes, you could call that confidence, but for me, again, it's like nerding out on your favorite subject.
mm. Oh, I love
And
that.
yeah, so I graduate college, I moved to Los Angeles, and all of a sudden I'm in this like very glamorous world. And there's a huge nightlife scene there. And so again, what do I want to do? I want to dress up.
Mm,
Want to comb every vintage store, actually more realistically, every thrift store,
mm, mm-hmm.
find any designer pieces I can, estate sales, like my whole life. I was actually working in a corporate design job the first year I moved out there. So suddenly I'm working in a design firm, and the principals of the design firm had worked for Charles and Ray Eames. It was like an amazing job on paper, amazing job to get right out of college.
And for those who don't know, who are Charles and Ray Eames? I see a chair behind you.
Yeah, I have my Eames chair. That was something I always buy myself after I get myself gifts at benchmarks in my career, and I bought myself the Eames chair.
Which is this
And
iconic chair for those
yeah, they
who
were designers who had a very play-based approach to design
Hmm.
for architecture, furniture design, product design, surface design, fabric design, who came up in the 60s, and they lived in Los Angeles, and they worked also with Herman Miller, and they're very famous. If you go to a design within reach, you will trip over their products. But they were a husband and wife design team who just had a very play-based approach to design and use beautiful color, and there's giant thick books written on them. It's too much to put into.
Yep.
All I can say is that I love them and I was a huge fan, and that was enough to draw me to this design firm. But I was way more interested in dressing up and nightlife and going out and sort of forming this community where people were sort of like creating their identities and feeling very free to express themselves with how they dressed up at night. It was very conceptual, it was very cool. I met a ton of people, many of whom are still dear friends of mine.
Hmm.
Anyway, I decided to quit the job at the design firm eventually and just go out on my own and freelance, because I started to know enough people socially who basically had chosen their work as a reflection of their interests, which is what
Hmm.
I, without really knowing it, I was doing that also. And of course, my dad didn't think, like, he was like, wait, you have a dream job. Why are you quitting? And I was like, I just feel dead when I go to work. I just wasn't really,
Not to be dramatic, but
I was like, I talk too loud on the telephone. I spent all my lunch breaks like going to Marshall's trying to find like designer shoes and lingerie, just like whatever I could do to just do something on my own. So I quit the job. I immediately started freelancing. I
for
had
styling, for fashion.
actually, I was doing art direction and graphic
Okay.
design. I
Okay.
was doing like marketing campaigns for movie studios. but I was working with a trend reporting or trend forecasting agency. Then they hired me to do more trend reporting. I was interviewing friends that I met in the nightlife scene who were also like clothing designers selling their clothes at Fred Siegel. And it just sort of snowballed. Like as soon as I started following my interests, it was like things just like showed up. I had this like wonderful sort of ascension that was very validating. It wasn't always easy. It was like, I mean, my rent at the time was probably like, I don't know, $500 a month. It was like my expenses were low and I was sort of able to sort of just jump off and do that. Could I do that now with 3 kids? Probably, but it would come with a much larger feeling of responsibility.
Sure.
So I started doing more trend reporting. And then I met somebody who worked for the Limited Brands, who owns Victoria's Secret and a bunch of other companies. And they said, we need a trend reporter. And so I basically just had a camera and I was walking all over Los Angeles, taking pictures of people in cool outfits,
Oh,
stores,
cool.
all these things. And again, figuring out how to get paid for doing what I love doing naturally. Like it wasn't about the money, although I did love earning money,
Hmm.
still do. And I went through a life transition. I had a big breakup with a boyfriend. And then
Mhm.
I said, okay, now I'm really going to do the one thing that I was scared to do out of college, which is move to New York. Because I always thought like New York is like, I mean, it still is, it's awe inspiring. And I left all my stuff, including like my toothbrush in the bathroom of where I was living, packed a suitcase, went to New York, and 3 or 4 months later, I had an apartment and I went back to LA, shipped all my stuff out, and officially moved to New York. I had the good fortune of being introduced to the photo director of Vogue magazine.
Mm.
And I went in thinking, again, like, let's just say hi, meet. This is really exciting. I go to Condé Nast and I'm thinking, like, maybe I could do something for Teen Vogue or something, like sort of not really having a complete vision of what was going on. And I just had this massive portfolio of people dressed in cool outfits, and a lot of the heads and feet were cut off because I was sort of focusing on the clothes.
Sure.
I just showed the photo director, Ivan Shaw, my pictures, and he said, great, okay, we'll have you cover New York Fashion Week front row and backstage in September. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
oh my God. I was like, I don't even own like a camera with a lens, like a little point and shoot camera. He's like, don't worry about it. You can rent it. Here's where you buy your film. This is where you process it. This is the type of lens you'll need. And just keep the heads and the feet
Don't cut
back
off the
on the
head.
people. So here I go, and the rest is history. Basically, I always loved to dress up. So I was very intrepid, very in love with my job, always going for like the cool outfit that I love, not necessarily the designer brand or the person in the fanciest outfit. It was always like about the authentic style that attracted me. And I kind of became known for following like normal people on the street, which is now, of course, commonly known as street style photography. But at the time, only sort of Bill Cunningham was doing that for the New York Times. But now if you go to a fashion show, you'll have almost more photographers than attendees of the shows. Back then, it was like a sort of a smaller group of photographers, and I sort of stood out because I was this tall blonde, and I'd be running around in like a jean mini skirt and all kinds of fabulous outfits. I would dress up for the party that I was shooting as much as the guests would because it was just exciting for me. It wasn't like I had an agenda with that, and yet it stood out. And from there, I was introduced to stylists, and I said, can I assist you on photo shoots? And so then I was assisting on Vogue shoots and shoots for Annie Leibovitz for Vanity Fair. And it was just like so exciting. It was just like this rapid manifestation of like, just
Oh my God.
and yeah, and then cut 25 years later, it just, but yeah, I just used that muscle, that creative muscle over and over. It was like, put yourself out there, get yourself in the mix. Of course, it's about the people. You have to love the people, meet the people, show that you're interested in a very humble way.
When did the book come about?
So let's see, my daughter's 12. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, that's basically, I started painting watercolors at my kitchen table. I had always painted and, studied painting. Usually I would keep a set of watercolors and a sketchbook. That was something I kept religiously in school.
Just for fun.
It was like in art school is like your form of notebooks. Like you had to draw everything and all your notes were visual art
Got
history
it.
notes. And if I was going to a museum, I would sketch a painting. Again, it was like before iPhones, before you could take pictures of everything. And when you're drawing something, it's like a way to solidify something in your mind. It's like you're studying it. And I had always painted when I would travel or yeah, but once I was working in New York, my watercolors sort of never came out of the drawer. I might take them on a vacation with me. I might take a couple sheets of paper with me. And one time, a friend of mine who is an author saw one of my paintings. I forget where she saw it, maybe on my wall. And she's like, "Oh, I'm writing a book. Would you?" So she asked me to illustrate her book, which was then called Gypset Travel. And she's made a trilogy of Gypset books. And so I was sort of like illustrating these iconic things for every location that her where all of her chapters took place.
Was that a big deal? Were you like, oh my God, yes, I'll do
Oh
it?
yeah, it was a huge deal. It was a huge deal for me. And again, I was like, I'm not like I never really considered myself like a painter. I was but I just kind of went with it because I was excited by it and my heart was in it. And that's a great way to make a decision. It's like if you feel like nervous, excited, that's a great jumping off point into something that will probably be successful. And then all of a sudden, I had amassed all these clients as a luxury brand consultant, whom I
I
did.
like how you're like all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, it's like after 10 years of being a creative director and a fashion stylist and an art director and, working on campaigns for brands and styling people for the red carpet, all those same brands sort of were like, oh, you do illustration work. Let's hire you to do illustration for us. So it was like
Mm.
they had the contacts, but the medium was different. And also it was like the beginning of Instagram. So it was like everything had been photo saturated. And now there's a lot more artists and illustrators who have a platform to share their voice. And I certainly was not the first illustrator out there by any means, but I was sort of known because I used to paint when I would go on vacation. I used to paint things that I packed in my suitcase. So I'd pack like my bikini, my shoes, my sunglasses, my lipstick, my hairbrush. And people were like, "You're painting these like really normal, sort of mundane, everyday objects, but you're elevating them by painting them." And I was like, "I am? Okay, great. I'm so glad that works for you." And then, it attracted the attention of an agent. And all of a sudden, I sort of had this book deal. It was, of course, it took place over several years. It wasn't quite that fast. But when I look back on it, it's just me following my interest, my gut instinct,
Mm.
and it is relatable and resonates with people. So yeah, I wrote the book Classic Style. It was published in 2017. And then all of a sudden I started selling my framed artwork and the originals at gallery spaces in New York. I started selling them at John Darien and then a lot of places in Los Angeles and New York. Now you can find my paintings at KRB on the Upper East Side of New York on Lexington and 74th, and also on my website. Yeah, I feel like sometimes now I feel more like I'm a passenger on my train of my career more, but it used to be like me just charging ahead, and
Mhm.
just deeply, deeply interested. I think being creative is being interested in what you're doing. You could be creative with science, math. I mean, I feel like there's an art to so many technical things as well.
Yep. Yep.
If you have a pure intention and real heart, like that will take you very far.
Mm. Oh, I love this so much. I keep saying I love this. I need to stop saying I love this, but but I
No,
really
I
do.
love hearing that you love it.
So I used to be an accountant, financial reporting. I hired a coach. She changed my life and I pivoted. And now I'm coaching and I love my work. I feel called to do this. I read
I love that. Yes.
I
But
just,
you know how it feels.
yes, I love it so, so much. I read, like at night, I'm reading books on about coaching or topics that will help me be a better coach, like I'm constantly thinking about it. It's just like that's what I would do. I would read books about self-development
Yeah,
just for
totally.
fun.
I still read. I mean, I have a deep, deep bookshelf of, I'm really, really into positive affirmations. And, now I have to be a little bit more diligent as a mom of three children. And
But it's like you got the train going, like you
I
said.
got the train going, and I've had a career that's just over 25 years long. So it still feels like I need to get on the train sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in mindset, which came a little bit more naturally when I was single and fancy free. Like I always say, it takes a lot of work to be this carefree, or to seem this carefree. I do a lot of like positive affirmations. I write out goals and intentions. I
Mm.
say things to myself in the mirror. Right now, I'm super into prosperity mindset, both helping other people prosper and feeding myself language that helps me prosper.
Mm.
Because nothing's less fun than being a super creative person who's terrified. So you have to sort of work at that. I mentioned before, like I'm in a stage in life where we have a lot greater responsibilities as a mother and a business owner. And there's definitely times at 2:30 in the morning when I'm awake, nervous, or it's what it really is it's afraid. I use tools to strengthen that muscle of creativity and positivity and the can do mindset. And so, yeah, I'm all about prosperity mindset right now.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big believer in that and affirmations and intentions.
Yeah, like Louise Hay. Have you read Louise
Of,
Hay?
of course.
I mean, she's like written all over my forehead.
So I have some of her like
Oh,
little affirmation cards, and so I keep them. I have them in my drawer, and I'll pick some out, and then I'll display them for the week, and then I'll switch them out. And so, like this one's everything I need comes to me in the perfect time. And then I have
I
different
love
sets
that.
of affirmations that I use. Wherever I look, I see something to be grateful for. Today, I'm open
So
to.
what I do is I can even show you what it looks like. I have like 3 pages of affirmations here. And what
Oh.
I do is I say them out loud enough until I rewrite them in my own words or my own voice.
Mm.
And occasionally I'll add in new ones. One thing I'm really into right now that I wrote after reading her affirmations on prosperity is I just wrote power and prosperity in the present moment. It's like at every moment we can find something to be grateful for, that we have a choice about, that we can take action in. It's never so much about the future. It's never also about like arriving someplace. Like
Mm.
it's a lifelong process.
Yes.
One of her affirmations was like, wait, what was it again? It was like, here we go. It's so funny. I pay my bills with love and I rejoice as I write out each check.
I
And
need
I
that one
really
right now
meant
because
to
I'm
start
paying all these
thinking about
things.
that. Like, yeah, like when I'm paying someone or when I want to, for example, invest in myself by hiring the right lawyer or the right contractor or the right web developer, it's like, yeah, I'm also supporting them.
Mm.
And when I reach out and a friend needs help and I can help them, it's like, it's not just a one-way street. And so, yes, but I have interrupted you. I want to hear more about your
Oh,
affirmation.
no, I'm so happy that you shared that because I really believe in that. And so getting to hear and see someone who has been very successful in pursuing something they love, and this is something that you do, is very
Mhm.
inspiring. But yeah, so I pivoted and I'm very happy. And what we were talking about that made me think about that was how beautifully you weaved in kind of what I was hoping to do with this podcast, which is kind of show that because I really believe if we follow what we're enthusiastic about, that's like where our heart is trying to tell us to go. And so sometimes clients will have two opportunities and they're not sure which way to go. And the question I'll ask them is, which one are you enthusiastic about? And sometimes
Hmm.
either, right? And so it's like they're
Yes.
doing something they feel like they should do. And other times it's like, it's this one. That's very
No, fuck should. That's one of my affirmations also.
clear. Yes, because I was led by I should be in accounting because that will be
I
financial.
mean, I love my accountant and I love sending an invoice like nobody's business, but and you are valuable. But I just think it has to be a hell yes or a no thank you
Yes.
in order to Yeah, otherwise it's like if you have any kind of resistance or hesitation, like you need to figure out what that is because that's going to play out in ways that don't necessarily support you.
Yeah. And I love that you're giving an example for because growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. And so I knew that I wanted to do a career that would provide financial stability. Part of the reason I picked accounting.
Yes,
But there was also like a belief that I think I inherited from my dad that I've like worked to dispel or to shed, which is making money is hard work. It's like
right,
really hard to make money and
right.
it has to be hard. I mean, yes, I work and I don't even want to
It
say
comes
effort,
to
but
you
it,
effortlessly and
yes,
abundantly.
yes.
You
I
know
don't even
what?
want to, I don't like saying hard. So I did,
Okay, I
I,
have a beautiful visual for you. And
yes.
I have a dear friend, my dear friend Eddie, and I was talking to him and he was sort of talking about getting new clients and things like that. And I was like, Eddie, just think about Cupid is firing 1,000 arrows at you right now. There's all these ideas popping up in people's heads, and people are recommending you right now, and they're referring you now.
Mm.
People are coming up with ideas of something to work on a project with you. I was like, they're all firing at you right now. So we have this joke. We're always texting each other pictures of arrows. We're like, more arrows arrived today. We got an email about this. Or
That's fun. Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful image. And I love that you share that because it sounds like a lot of arrows have found you in a industry or field that like the old me would have thought, oh, you can't make money being an artist or a watercolor artist. I have to be an accountant, right? And you are a model of you can follow what you're energized by, what you're interested in, and get paid well to do it.
yeah. And for me, it is also about you have to always empower the part of you that has the power to make the choice and not feel like life is happening to you. So if I decide to work on a project or not, it's more of like, do I want to say yes to this or no to this?
Hmm.
Because I can only control my end of the deal. That's sort of more where I am at this point in my career is definitely always feeding the interest. I have a thing where I go to New York City. I used to live in New York and now we live outside of Philadelphia. So I go to New York once a week, no matter what. Even if I just wander around the streets all day long, just
Hmm.
looking and people watching. The idea is that it's not conditional on somebody inviting me to do something, but I come up with the itinerary. So I now keep a list in my phone of all the exhibits, people I want to see, things I want to do, errands I have to run. And so every time I go to New York, I have sort of like a built-in plan, even if I don't have a plan, but it's not conditional on waiting for the action to come to me. I am on the train as a giant arrow heading towards the city,
The
like
verb.
I'm the arrow. Yeah, I'm the verb.
What would
And
you
I love offering that to brands that I work with is like I feel like it's so important to create that same sort of authenticity and you want to be the superhero of your own story
Mm.
when you're starting a company or if you're pivoting and starting something new, or that's what I try to offer clients is like a mirror to what that specific authentic superpower is. And then how do we amplify that and then broadcast that message?
Kate, I have loved getting the opportunity to hear your story and learn more about it. What would you say to someone who's listening who doesn't feel like their own superhero in their own story right now?
Let's see, I would say think really hard, or maybe it comes to mind very easily. Who are your superheroes?
Mm.
And then go find them.
Mm.
Write them an email, send them a DM, ask them to be on your podcast, ask them for coffee, send them a love letter, within reason. I mean, it never gets old. I have people reaching out to me. They'll say, I'm a big fan of your work. It's like, or they'll occasionally I get stopped on the street and it's like, who am I? I'm just walking down the street in New York, but it feels great to be recognized and to be acknowledged for what you've done. So if you can't locate your own superhero, find out who your superheroes are and be the verb
Mm.
that connects with that person and ask for advice, but you have to be willing to act on that advice or act on that recommendation. Nothing frustrates me more than people who contact me and say, can I talk to you? And I give them a bunch of advice and I can just tell like they're just not going to take it or they don't have the confidence to go do it. So
Mm.
you have to walk the walk. You have to be the verb. I guess that's my new thing.
Thank you so much, Kate. Where can people find more about your work? Where can people learn more about you? Where can people find your book?
Please follow me on Instagram at Kate Schelter, Kateschch, like school, Elter. And my website is kateschelter.com. And again, my book is Classic Style, available wherever books are sold or definitely on Amazon. Yeah, thank you so much, Lupe, for having me. I love that we sat next to each other. Powerful woman in the room is you, Summit. And like a week later, I'm on your podcast.
I love
I
it.
say that we're verbing.
We're burping.
Verbing is the new vibing.
Thank you so much, Kate.
The pleasure